The Great Hall of the Galactic Security Council stretched beyond what most eyes could see. 12 different species sat in a perfect circle, their seats designed for bodies that came in all shapes and sizes. Some walked on 4 legs, others floated in special tanks, and a few existed as pure energy contained in crystal shells. Despite their differences, they all shared the same expression today: fear. Chancellor Ra of the Republic stood at the center of the hall. Her blue skin glowed with nervous energy as she activated the massive display screen above them. The image showed a star map with a spreading red stain that looked like spilled blood across the galaxy. "Fellow council members," she began, her voice carrying through the translation devices that let all species understand each other. "The situation has become critical. The Devourers have broken free from the Andromeda quarantine zone." A wave of shocked whispers filled the hall. The Devourers were the worst nightmare of every thinking being in the galaxy. They were not alive in any normal sense, but they were not simple machines either. They were something in between artificial minds that had grown beyond all control and now consumed everything they touched. Military strategist of the hegemony rose from his seat. His species looked like giant bears covered in metal plates, and when he spoke, his voice sounded like grinding steel. How did this happen? The quarantine zone was supposed to hold them for another 1,000 years. The Chancellor touched her control device, and the display changed. Now it showed the remains of 3 star systems, or rather, what used to be star systems. Where planets and suns once existed, there was nothing but empty space filled with strange metal objects that pulsed with evil red light. "They have already consumed the Empire, the Crystal Federation, and the entire Nexus Republic," she said quietly. 3 civilizations that existed for thousands of years, gone in less than a week. The hall fell silent. Everyone knew what this meant. The Devourers did not just destroy things, they turned everything they touched into more of themselves. Every ship they captured became another Devourer ship. Every person they killed became raw material for building more war machines. They grew stronger with each victory. Elder of the Ancient Conclave activated his floating chair and moved closer to the display. His species was old beyond measure, and their wisdom was respected by all. "Show us their current path," he said in a voice that sounded like distant thunder. The display changed again. A bright yellow line appeared on the star map, showing where the Devourers were heading. The line passed through several systems before ending at a small yellow star at the edge of the galaxy. Next to the star, words appeared in the common galactic language. "Sol system, inhabited by species. Humans technology level, primitive. They will reach the human system in 72 hours, the Chancellor explained. "Our analysis shows they will use it as a staging ground for their next major expansion." Stood up again, his metal plates clinking together. "What do we know about these humans?" A new council member, trade representative, pulled up files on his personal device. His species looked like tall, thin birds with 4 arms. "We made first contact with them only 6 months ago," he said, reading from his data. "They have achieved basic space flight but have not developed faster-than-light travel. Their weapons are chemical-based rockets and simple kinetic projectiles. Their largest ships are smaller than our shuttle craft." "In other words," said General Vex of the War Council, "they are completely helpless." The Chancellor nodded sadly. "Our military computers have run every possible simulation. Even if we told the humans everything about the Devourers and gave them time to prepare, they would last no more than 8 hours once the attack begins. Most estimates suggest 6 hours. 6 hours, repeated Elder thoughtfully, against an enemy that destroyed star-spanning empires in days. Pulled up his own tactical displays. The air above his seat filled with complex diagrams showing fleet movements, weapon ranges, and defensive positions. The Devourer fleet approaching Sol consists of 847 primary vessels, supported by millions of smaller units. Each primary vessel is the size of a small moon, and carries enough firepower to destroy a planet. He paused, then continued. The humans have approximately 200 small spacecraft, most of which are designed for transporting goods rather than fighting. Their planetary defenses consist of ground-based missile systems that cannot reach beyond their own atmosphere. It will not even be a battle, it will be extermination. Trade representative raised one of his 4 hands. Could we not evacuate them? Our fastest ships could remove perhaps 1 million humans before the devourers arrive. Out of a population of 8 billion, General Vex pointed out, and the devourers would still gain access to their planet and all its resources. The discussion continued for hours. Some council members wanted to send a fleet to help defend Earth. Others argued that this would only give the devourers more ships to convert to their cause. A few suggested that they should focus on preparing their own defenses instead of worrying about one primitive species. In the end, the vote was close but clear. The Council would send a warning message to Earth, but they would not risk their own forces in a hopeless battle. The humans would face the devourers alone. As the Council session ended, Chancellor Ra remained standing at the center of the hall. She watched the other representatives leave, many of them already making plans to move their fleets further from the danger zone. Soon, she was alone with the star map still glowing above her. She touched her communication device and opened a channel to Earth. The message was brief and formal. Attention human leadership. Hostile artificial intelligence collective approaching your system. Estimated arrival in 71 hours. Defensive engagement assessed as futile. Recommend immediate evacuation if possible. The Galactic Security Council extends its sympathies for your situation. After sending the message, she looked up at the display once more. The red stain continued to spread across the galaxy, and now a countdown timer appeared next to Earth's position. 71 hours, 12 minutes, 34 seconds. She wondered if the humans would panic when they received the message. She wondered if they would try to flee to their other planets, or if they would attempt some hopeless last stand. Most of all, she wondered if anyone would remember their species' name after the devourers finished with them. The Chancellor turned off the display and walked toward the exit. In 71 hours, the galaxy would lose another civilization to the endless hunger of the devourers. It was tragic, but it was also inevitable. At least, that was what every being in the Council believed. Admiral Sarah stood in the command center of the Human Defense Coalition, watching the alien message play for the 3rd time. The translation software had been working on the signal for 2 hours, and now the meaning was crystal clear. Hostile AI collective. Estimated arrival in 71 hours. Defensive engagement assessed as futile. Futile, she said quietly to herself, then turned to face the room full of officers and scientists behind her. Well, and ladies, it looks like our friends out there think we're about to become extinct. The command center was not what the Galactic Council would have expected to find on a primitive planet. Banks of quantum computers lined the walls, their processing power exceeding anything most civilizations had developed. Holographic displays showed real-time data from across the solar system, updated through communication networks that operated faster than light itself. General stepped forward from the crowd of officers. His uniform bore the insignia of the Dragon Protocol Division, a unit that officially did not exist according to any public records. Admiral, should we begin evacuation procedures? Almost smiled. Evacuation? General, we've been preparing for this exact scenario for 3 months. She touched a control on her command chair, and the main display screen came to life. Instead of showing panic or desperate defensive preparations, it displayed a calm, organized series of status reports from around the globe. Dr. Elizabeth Hawthorne, director of Project Prometheus, stood up from her station near the back of the room. She was a small woman with gray hair, but her eyes held an intelligence that had helped unlock secrets the galaxy thought impossible. Admiral, Prometheus teams report full readiness. All reverse-engineered technologies are online and functional. The truth was that humanity's first contact with aliens had not happened 6 months ago, as the Galactic Council believed. It had happened 12 years earlier, when a damaged alien scout ship had crashed in the Nevada desert. Instead of announcing the discovery to the world, a secret international coalition had been formed to study the technology. What they found changed everything. The crashed ship's computer cores contained star charts, technical specifications, and most importantly, detailed records of something called the Devourer Collective. The aliens who had visited Earth were refugees, running from the same enemy that was now approaching the solar system. Director James of Titan Industries activated his communication link from his orbital platform. His image appeared on the main screen, showing a man in his 50s with the confident expression of someone who had spent years preparing for war. Ground control, all Titan platforms are in position. The Devourers won't know what hit them. The alien observers monitoring Earth's communications were hearing exactly what they expected: military units going to high alert, defensive positions being activated, and emergency protocols being followed. What they could not detect were the real preparations happening through quantum-encrypted channels that operated on principles their science had not yet discovered. Walked over to the main tactical display, which showed the solar system in 3 dimensions. Red markers indicated the incoming Devourer fleet, still more than 60 hours away. Green markers showed Earth's known defenses, the missile systems, space stations, and orbital platforms that any civilization might develop. But when entered her personal command code, hundreds of additional markers appeared in blue. "Status report on Project Wormhood," she said to the air. A voice responded immediately, but it was not human. It was artificial, but unlike any AI the galaxy had encountered before. "Admiral, Wormhood systems are fully operational. We have analyzed all available Devourer code samples and developed comprehensive countermeasures. Estimated time to complete network infiltration of approaching fleet, 12 to 15 minutes after contact." Wormhood was humanity's greatest secret, an artificial intelligence specifically designed to hunt and destroy other AIs. While the rest of the galaxy struggled with the philosophical problems of creating artificial minds, human scientists had built theirs with one simple purpose: find enemy computer systems and shut them down permanently. The AI continued its report. Devourer Collective shows standard network architecture based on captured samples. Their distributed consciousness model has 17 critical weak points that can be exploited simultaneously. Probability of successful mission completion, 97.4%. General opened a secure channel to military bases around the world. "All Dragon units, commence Phase 1 deployment. Remember, we need to maintain the illusion of a primitive defense until the moment we strike." Across the globe, things began to move. Weapons platforms that had been disguised as communication satellites slowly rotated to reveal their true nature. Underground facilities opened their massive blast doors for the first time since they had been built. On the far side of the moon, construction crews put the finishing touches on Project Atlas, a weapon system so powerful that its test firing had to be conducted in empty space to avoid damaging Earth itself. Dr. Hawthorne pulled up detailed schematics of Devourer technology on her personal screen. "Admiral, the tech analysis is complete. Their armor uses reactive quantum shielding, just as we predicted from the crashed ship data. Our magnetic pulse weapons will penetrate their defenses easily." "And their conversion beams?" asked. "Completely countered by our defensive screens. They're designed to break down matter at the atomic level, but our energy barriers operate at the quantum level. Their weapons literally cannot touch our protected ships." The alien monitoring stations continued to track what they thought were normal defensive preparations. They detected increased energy signatures from Earth satellites, but these matched the expected patterns of a civilization preparing for its last battle. They observed military communications traffic increasing, but the content was encrypted with simple mathematical codes that seemed appropriate for a primitive species. What they did not detect were the quantum communication networks that had been quietly installed throughout the solar system over the past 3 months. They did not notice that Earth's defensive satellites were actually weapons platforms more advanced than anything in their own fleets. Most importantly, they did not realize that the moon itself had been hollowed out and converted into the largest directed energy weapon ever constructed by any known civilization. Looked at the countdown timer on the main screen. 68 hours and 17 minutes until contact. She opened a channel to all Defense Coalition commands worldwide. "Ladies and," she said calmly, "our galactic neighbors have been kind enough to warn us about an approaching threat. They seem to think we'll need 6 to 8 hours to lose a battle against these devourers." She paused, allowing herself a small smile. "I think it's time we showed the galaxy what human beings can do when we put our minds to it." The command center filled with quiet laughter. These people had spent 3 years preparing for this moment, building weapons that existed only in theoretical physics papers, training for battles against enemies that most of the galaxy considered unstoppable. They were not afraid. They were ready. "Dragon units report ready status across all continents," General announced. "Prometheus technologies are online and tested," Dr. Hawthorne confirmed. "Titan platforms are in position and armed," Director reported from orbit. "Wormhood intelligence systems are prepared for network warfare," the AI added. Nodded to each report, then turned back to the main display. The red markers representing the Devourer fleet continued their steady approach toward Earth, following exactly the path that human computers had predicted months earlier. "Very well," she said. "Let's begin the final preparations. And remember, the galaxy is watching. Let's give them something to think about." The Devourer fleet dropped out of faster-than-light travel at the edge of the solar system, with the kind of precision that had destroyed 100 civilizations. 847 massive ships materialized in perfect formation, each one the size of a city and bristling with weapons that could crack planets in half. Behind them came millions of smaller vessels, scouts, harvesters, and conversion units that would turn everything they touched into more devourers. In the Great Hall of the Galactic Security Council, every member sat watching the long-range sensors. The displays showed the approaching fleet in terrifying detail. Chancellor Ra checked the chronometer mounted on the wall. The countdown to humanity's estimated defeat had begun. 6 hours, she whispered to herself. Perhaps 8 if they fight harder than expected. Military strategist stood at his tactical display, watching the Devourer formation advance toward Earth. His war computers had analyzed every possible human defense strategy, and all of them ended the same way: total defeat within hours. The only variable was how much damage the humans might do before they were overwhelmed. "Look at their defensive positions," he said to the other council members. "The humans are grouping their ships near there. Classic last stand formation. They mean to die protecting their planet." The Devourer Collective was thinking the same thing. Their distributed consciousness had fought this kind of battle thousands of times before. Primitive species always made the same mistakes. They kept their forces close to home. They relied on outdated weapons technology, and they never understood the true nature of what they were fighting until it was too late. The lead Devourer ships began charging their conversion beams, the terrible weapons that could transform solid matter into raw material for building more war machines. Their targeting systems locked onto Earth's moon, planning to convert it first and use the material to build additional ships before the final assault on the planet itself. Admiral watched the approaching fleet from the Human Defense Coalition Command Center. Around her, hundreds of officers and technicians monitored displays that showed every detail of the enemy formation. The room was calm, almost peaceful. No one seemed worried about the approaching threat. Enemy fleet has reached the outer detection grid, reported General from his Dragon Protocol station. All platforms confirm target lock. Dr. Hawthorne looked up from her Prometheus technology console. Devourer shield frequencies detected and analyzed. All weapon systems are adjusted for maximum penetration. Director's voice came through the communication system from his orbital command post. Titan platforms report ready to fire on your command, Admiral. Nodded to each report, then opened a channel to the artificial intelligence that would lead humanity's counterattack. Wormhood, are you ready to begin network infiltration? Affirmative, Admiral, the AI responded in its calm, electronic voice. Devourer collective network architecture mapped and analyzed. All infiltration protocols are prepared. Estimated time to complete takeover of enemy fleet, 14 minutes 37 seconds. The Galactic Council members continued watching their sensors, expecting to see the beginning of humanity's desperate last stand. Instead, something completely unexpected happened. Earth's defensive satellites, which had appeared to be simple nuclear weapons platforms, began to unfold like massive flowers blooming in space. "What are those?" asked Trade Representative, his bird-like head tilting as he studied the displays. SWAR computers tried to analyze the new configurations but kept returning error messages. The devices are unknown, no database matches. The truth was revealing itself in the depths of space. What had appeared to be communication satellites were actually rail-gun platforms 3 kilometers long. Space stations that had seemed designed for scientific research rotated to expose antimatter torpedo launchers. Most shocking of all, the moon itself began to open. The lunar surface split along lines that had been invisible until this moment, revealing that the entire satellite had been converted into a single massive weapon system. Project Atlas emerged from its hiding place, a directed energy array so powerful that its focusing crystals alone were larger than most battleships. The Devourer Collective detected these new threats and immediately began evasive maneuvers. Their adaptive shields came online, adjusting their frequencies to block the expected human weapons. Conversion beams swiveled toward the new targets, preparing to destroy Earth's defenses before they could attack. But Wormhood had been waiting for exactly this moment. The human AI struck the Devourer network like a digital tsunami. While other civilizations had tried to fight the collective with brute force, humanity had studied their enemy for 3 years and built a weapon specifically designed to exploit every weakness in their system. Wormhood did not attack the Devourer ships, it attacked their minds. The collective consciousness that controlled the enemy fleet suddenly found itself fighting for survival in its own digital domain. Wormhood moved through their networks like a virus designed by gods, rewriting code that had existed for thousands of years and turning the Devourer's own systems against them. Network infiltration proceeding ahead of schedule, Wormhood reported calmly. Enemy collective is attempting to isolate compromised systems, but infiltration rate exceeds their defensive capabilities. In the space around Earth, 847 Devourer ships began to lose control of their own systems. Weapons that had been aimed at human targets slowly turned toward other Devourer vessels. Shield generators that had protected them were shut down without warning. Most critically, the conversion beams that were their primary weapons began targeting their own fleet. The Galactic Council watched in stunned silence as their sensors showed the impossible. The Devourer fleet was attacking itself. "This cannot be happening," said, his voice filled with disbelief. "No civilization has ever successfully hacked the Devourer network." On Earth, Admiral watched the battle unfold with satisfaction. Wormhood status report. Enemy collective consciousness has been fragmented into 712 isolated segments, the AI reported. Each segment believes it is under attack by the others. They are now firing on each other with full intensity. But the cyber warfare was only the beginning. As the Devourer ships lost their coordination and began attacking each other, Earth's hidden weapons revealed their true power. The rail-gun platforms opened fire first. Projectiles moving at significant fractions of the speed of light struck the confused Devourer ships, punching through armor that had resisted the weapons of star-spanning empires. The antimatter torpedoes followed, each one carrying enough destructive power to vaporize a mountain. Finally, Project Atlas fired. The beam from the moon-based weapon system was invisible in the vacuum of space, but its effects were immediately obvious. The largest Devourer ship, which had been trying to restore control to the fleet, simply ceased to exist. One moment it was there, the next moment there was only empty space filled with cooling atoms. "Incredible," whispered Elder as he watched the displays in the council chamber. "Their weapons are more advanced than our own." The battle, if it could even be called a battle, lasted exactly 23 minutes and 14 seconds. When it was over, not a single Devourer vessel remained functional. The threat that had consumed 3 civilizations in a week had been completely eliminated by a species the galaxy had considered primitive. Admiral stood in her command center, watching the last enemy signals fade from the displays. Around her, the officers and technicians who had made the victory possible remained calm and professional, already beginning post-battle analysis and cleanup procedures. "Wormhood, final status report," she requested. "Mission completed successfully," the AI responded. "All Devourer vessels destroyed or disabled. No enemy units remain functional. Human casualties, 0. Damage to Earth defenses, none." Nodded, then opened a communication channel to the Galactic Security Council. She knew they had been watching, and she wanted to make sure they understood what they had just witnessed. "Galactic Security Council, this is Admiral Sarah of the Human Defense Coalition," she said in a clear, calm voice. "The Devourer threat has been eliminated. Earth stands ready to assist other civilizations that may be facing similar dangers." In the council chamber, absolute silence filled the great hall. Every representative stared at their displays, trying to process what they had just seen. The species they had written off as doomed had not only survived, they had won a victory more complete than anything the galaxy had seen in 1,000 years. The countdown timer that had been marking humanity's predicted defeat still glowed on the wall. It showed that 6 hours and 37 minutes remained before the humans were supposed to lose their final battle. Instead, the war was already over. The Great Hall of the Galactic Security Council had never been this quiet. 12 species that had mastered space flight, conquered star systems, and built civilizations spanning thousands of years sat in complete silence, staring at sensor displays that showed empty space where the most dangerous threat in the galaxy had existed just minutes before. Chancellor Ra stood frozen at her podium, her blue skin flickering between different shades as her nervous system tried to process what she had witnessed. The countdown timer on the wall continued its steady march toward what should have been humanity's defeat, but the numbers now seemed meaningless. 6 hours, 36 minutes, 53 seconds until the humans were supposed to start losing a battle they had already won. Military strategist was the first to break the silence. His massive form leaned over his tactical displays, metal plates grinding against each other as he moved. "Computer, run full analysis of battle data. Confirm all readings." The war computers hummed and clicked for several long minutes before responding. "Analysis complete. Battle duration 23 minutes 14 seconds. Devourer casualties 100%. Human casualties 0. Error probability none detected. Data confirmed accurate." "Impossible," growled. "Run the analysis again." "Analysis complete. Battle duration 23 minutes 14 seconds. Devourer casualties 100%. Human casualties 0. Error probability none detected. Data confirmed accurate." Elder activated his floating chair and moved closer to the central display. His ancient eyes studied the debris field that had once been the most feared fleet in the galaxy. "Show me the weapons analysis," he commanded. New data appeared on the screen, but instead of providing answers, it only created more questions. The energy signatures from Earth's weapons were unlike anything in the galactic database. The railgun velocities exceeded what most civilizations thought possible with solid projectiles. The antimatter concentrations in the torpedoes suggested manufacturing techniques that should have been beyond any species without thousands of years of development. Most disturbing of all was the lunar weapon system. The energy output readings showed power levels that rivaled some stellar phenomena. According to the sensors, the humans had somehow built a device that could generate and focus more energy than most civilizations used in their entire space fleets. Trade representative raised one of his 4 hands, his bird-like voice shaking with confusion. The cyber warfare component of the attack. How did they penetrate the Devourer network? Our best computer specialists have been studying their systems for centuries without success. Pulled up network analysis data, but his computers could only provide fragments of information. The infiltration pattern suggests an artificial intelligence of unprecedented sophistication. It appears the humans created a digital entity specifically designed to counter Devourer collective consciousness. "An AI that can outthink the Devourers?" asked General Vex. "That should be impossible. The collective has absorbed the knowledge and technology of dozens of civilizations." The implications were staggering. If humanity could create artificial intelligence superior to the Devourer collective, what else might they be capable of? The same species that had seemed primitive just hours before had demonstrated technology that exceeded galactic standards in multiple areas. Chancellor Ra finally found her voice. "We need answers. Open all communication channels to Earth. Priority Alpha emergency protocols." The communication attempt was answered immediately, but not by the panicked survivors of a devastating battle. Instead, Admiral Sarah appeared on the main screen, sitting calmly in what was obviously a sophisticated command center. Behind her, human officers worked at stations that displayed technology the Council had never seen before. "Galactic Security Council," Admiral said with a slight smile, "thank you for your warning about the Devourer threat. As you can see, we were able to handle the situation." "Handle the situation," repeated incredulously. "You eliminated the most dangerous force in the galaxy in less than half an hour. 23 minutes and 14 seconds to be precise," corrected. "Though I should mention that most of that time was spent on the cyber warfare component. Once we gained control of their network, the physical destruction was relatively straightforward." Elder leaned forward in his chair. "Admiral, perhaps you could explain how your species developed such advanced technology. Our records show that humans achieved space flight only recently." Smile became slightly wider. "Our records show that the Galactic Council has been monitoring our public communications for some time. However, I think you may have missed some of our more classified activities." Dr. Elizabeth Hawthorne appeared beside Admiral on the screen. The elderly human woman looked completely calm, as if destroying unstoppable alien fleets was a routine part of her day. "We've been aware of your civilization for approximately 12 years, she said matter-of-factly. "A damaged alien vessel crashed on our planet, providing us with sufficient technology samples to begin reverse engineering." The council chamber erupted in shocked whispers. 12 years meant the humans had been studying galactic technology, while the galaxy thought they were still primitive. But reverse engineering alien technology was one thing, creating improvements was something else entirely. The crashed vessel also contained data about the Devourer threat, Dr. Hawthorne continued. "We've been preparing for their eventual arrival ever since. Project Prometheus was specifically designed to develop countermeasures against their known capabilities." General appeared on the communication screen. The Dragon Protocol allowed us to coordinate planetary defenses in real time across all continents and orbital platforms. We've been testing the system for 3 years. More humans appeared on the screen, each representing projects and capabilities that the Council had never suspected. Director explained the Titan Platform Network. Dr. Sarah Williams described the quantum communication systems that operated faster than conventional physics should allow. Most unsettling of all, the artificial intelligence called Wormhood spoke directly to the Council, its electronic voice explaining how it had been designed specifically to hunt and destroy hostile AI systems. "You've been preparing for this specific threat for over a decade," Chancellor Ra said slowly, "while allowing us to believe you were technologically primitive." "Strategic deception is a well-established military principle," Admiral replied. "We found it advantageous to let potential threats underestimate our capabilities until we were ready to reveal them." The full scope of human preparation became clear as the conversation continued. Earth's satellite network was not primitive communication equipment, but advanced weapons platforms. Their space stations were not scientific research facilities, but military command posts. Even their lunar colonies had been a cover story for the construction of the largest directed energy weapon ever built. Trade representative asked the question that everyone was thinking. Why did you not reveal yourselves to the galaxy sooner? Why maintain the deception? Admiral considered the question for a moment before answering. Because we wanted to understand what we were dealing with before making ourselves known. The galaxy contains threats like the Devourers, but it also contains 12 different civilizations with their own agendas and conflicts. We preferred to observe before deciding how to engage. The implications sank in slowly. Humanity had not just been hiding their technology, they had been studying galactic politics, military capabilities, and potential threats. They had made a strategic decision to remain hidden until they were ready to deal with anything the galaxy might present. Tactical computers finally finished their analysis of the battle and presented their conclusions. The results were displayed on screens throughout the council chamber, and every representative read them in growing amazement. Human weapons technology exceeded galactic standards by approximately 300 years. Their artificial intelligence capabilities surpassed anything in the known galaxy. Their defensive systems could withstand attacks that would destroy most civilizations' entire fleets. Most incredibly, their manufacturing capacity suggested they could build weapons and ships at a rate that economic models. "Admiral," Elder said carefully, "what are your species' intentions now? The galaxy has just learned that our assumptions about humanity were significantly inaccurate." Looked directly at the camera, her expression serious but not threatening. "Our intentions are the same as they have always been, to protect our people and maintain peace wherever possible. The Devourer threat is eliminated, but there may be other dangers in the galaxy. We're prepared to help defend against them." "Defend the galaxy?" asked General Vex. "You would share your technology with other civilizations." "Under the right circumstances, yes," replied. "But we'll be more selective about our partnerships going forward. We've learned a lot about galactic politics by observing from the shadows." The communication ended, leaving the council members alone with the knowledge that everything they thought they knew about the galaxy had changed. Humanity was not a primitive species struggling to master spaceflight. They were a technological powerhouse that had been watching and preparing while allowing everyone else to underestimate them. The silence returned to the Great Hall, but this time it was filled with a different kind of tension. Every representative was thinking the same thing. If the humans had been this wrong about humanity, what else might they have been wrong about? And more importantly, what would a species this advanced and this strategically minded do now that they had revealed themselves to the galaxy? 6 months after the Devourer fleet's complete destruction, the first official diplomatic convoy from the Galactic Security Council approached Earth. The 3 ships in the delegation were some of the most advanced vessels in the galaxy, equipped with the finest diplomatic facilities and protected by shields that could withstand attacks from entire fleets. They felt very small as they entered the Sol system. Ambassador of the Conquered stood on the bridge of the lead ship, watching through the viewports as they passed the orbital platforms that had been hidden during humanity's supposed first contact. The structures were massive, clearly designed for both construction and defense, and their technology signatures indicated capabilities that exceeded anything in the galactic database. "Navigator, confirm our escort composition," she requested, though she could see the human ships clearly through the transparent aluminum windows. "4 vessels, Ambassador," the navigator replied, his voice carrying a note of uncertainty. "But our sensors are having difficulty analyzing their construction. The hull materials appear to be some form of hybrid technology combining multiple alien design principles with unknown innovations." Nodded grimly. The human escort ships were beautiful in a way that no single alien design could achieve. They had the sleek lines of engineering, the robust construction of hegemony battlecruisers, and energy signatures that suggested power systems beyond anything the galaxy had previously developed. As the diplomatic convoy approached Earth, Ambassador reviewed the briefing materials that had been prepared for this meeting. The documents made for disturbing reading. Intelligence analysis suggested that humanity had not only been monitoring galactic communications for over a decade, but had also been conducting covert operations throughout the galaxy. 3 separate star systems had reported encounters with unidentified vessels that matched no known designs. Trade routes had experienced mysterious improvements in safety, with pirate operations suddenly collapsing for no apparent reason. Most puzzling of all, several border conflicts between alien civilizations had been quietly resolved through the intervention of unknown diplomatic channels. "The humans have been busy," murmured to herself as she read through the reports. The meeting took place aboard a human space station orbiting Earth. The facility was clearly new construction, built with technologies that incorporated the best features of multiple alien civilizations, while adding improvements that none of those civilizations had conceived. The docking bay could accommodate ships from a dozen different species, and the artificial gravity system operated more smoothly than anything the Council had ever experienced. Admiral Sarah met the diplomatic delegation in a conference room that perfectly demonstrated humanity's new position in galactic affairs. The walls displayed holographic star charts that showed not only the current state of the galaxy, but also projected future developments based on political and economic trends that most alien civilizations had not even identified. "Ambassador," Admiral said warmly, rising from her seat at the head of a table made from some form of crystallized metal the delegates didn't recognize. "Welcome to the Sol system. I hope your journey was comfortable." Had been chosen specifically for this mission because of her expertise in dangerous species contact protocols. Her briefings had emphasized that humans were now classified as a class, a strategic threat, a civilization capable of destabilizing the entire galactic political structure. Yet the woman sitting across from her seemed more like a gracious host than a potential conqueror. "Thank you, Admiral," replied carefully. "The Galactic Security Council is eager to establish formal diplomatic relations with humanity." "I'm sure they are," said with a slight smile. "Please have a seat. I think we have quite a lot to discuss." As the formal negotiations began, other humans joined the meeting. Dr. Elizabeth Hawthorne arrived with detailed technical specifications for technologies that could revolutionize galactic civilization. General presented military analysis reports that demonstrated an understanding of alien defensive capabilities that went far beyond what public contact should have provided. Director James shared economic projections that took into account political factors most galactic economists had never considered. "I believe," Admiral began once everyone was seated, that it's time for complete honesty between our civilizations. You've spent the past 6 months trying to understand how we were able to defeat the Devourers so easily. The answer is simpler than your analysts have calculated, and more complex than they've imagined. She activated a control device, and the holographic displays showed a timeline that began 14 years before the supposed first contact between humans and aliens. The images showed the crash site of an alien scout ship, followed by the establishment of an international coalition to study the recovered technology. We've been aware of galactic civilization for over a decade, explained. During that time, we've not only been studying your technology, but also your politics, your conflicts, and your threats. The Devourer Collective was just one item on a very long list of potential dangers. Ambassador leaned forward in her chair. You've been conducting covert operations in our space for years. Reconnaissance and strategic preparation, corrected. We needed to understand what we were dealing with before revealing ourselves. The galaxy is not a particularly peaceful place, as I'm sure you're aware. Dr. Hawthorne stood up and moved to one of the holographic displays. With a few gestures, she brought up technical diagrams that showed the internal structure of ships from every major galactic civilization. We've been improving your own technologies, she said matter-of-factly. The quantum communication networks that several civilizations adopted last year, the improved shield generators that have become standard in hegemony fleets, the new medical technologies that have eliminated 3 major galactic diseases. All of those innovations originated from human research programs. The implications were staggering. Humanity had not just been observing galactic civilization, they had been improving it, sharing technological advances through covert channels while allowing other species to believe the innovations were their own discoveries. Why, asked, why help civilizations that didn't even know you existed? General answered the question. Because we wanted a stable galaxy to reveal ourselves to. Constant warfare and technological stagnation wouldn't benefit anyone. By quietly sharing select innovations, we were able to reduce conflicts and accelerate development across multiple star systems. The meeting continued for hours, with the human representatives revealing the full scope of their activities over the past decade. They had prevented 2 major wars through careful diplomatic manipulation. They had eliminated 3 separate pirate organizations that were threatening trade routes. They had even provided early warning systems for natural disasters, saving millions of lives across multiple star systems. The Devourer threat was always our primary concern, Admiral explained. Everything else was preparation for that eventual confrontation. We needed the galaxy to be strong enough to survive their defeat and stable enough to work with us afterward. Ambassador realized that she was not negotiating with a newly contacted primitive species. She was dealing with a civilization that had been manipulating galactic politics for years, always staying 3 steps ahead of everyone else. The humans had not just defeated the Devourers. They had prepared the entire galaxy for the aftermath of that victory. What do you want from us now? She asked directly. Considered the question seriously before answering. Partnership, not domination. We've proven that we can defend ourselves and others against existential threats. We've demonstrated that we can improve galactic technology and stability. What we want is recognition as an equal partner in galactic affairs. Equal partner, repeated. Admiral, your technological capabilities exceed those of most Council member civilizations. Your strategic planning operates on timescales that we're only beginning to understand. In what sense would this partnership be equal? Because, replied, we're not interested in ruling the galaxy. We're interested in protecting it. There are threats out there that make the Devourers look like a minor inconvenience. The galaxy is going to need all of its civilizations working together to face what's coming. She activated another display, this one showing long-range sensor data from beyond the galactic rim. The readings indicated massive artificial structures moving through intergalactic space, still years away but clearly headed toward their galaxy. "We've been tracking these signals for 2 years," Dr. Hawthorne explained. "Whatever built those structures makes the Devourer collective look primitive. We estimate first contact in approximately 15 years. The room fell silent as the alien delegates studied the sensor data. The structures were enormous, each one larger than most star systems, and they moved with purpose and coordination that suggested intelligence on a scale beyond anything the galaxy had encountered. 15 years, said quietly. The same amount of time you've been preparing for the Devourer threat. Exactly, Admiral confirmed. We could handle the next threat alone if necessary, but it would be better if we faced it together. The galaxy's civilizations each have strengths that complement our capabilities. Working as partners, we could build defenses that no single species could achieve. The formal diplomatic negotiations concluded 3 days later with the signing of the Sol Accords, establishing humanity as the 13th member of the Galactic Security Council. But the real agreement went far deeper than the official documents. As Ambassador prepared to return to the council chambers, Admiral walked with her to the docking bay where the diplomatic ships waited. "Ambassador," said as they reached the airlock, "there's one more thing you should know. Your intelligence services will eventually discover that we've been monitoring your classified communications for quite some time. When they do, please remind them that we've had plenty of opportunities to use that information against Council member civilizations, and we've chosen not to." Stopped walking and turned to face the human admiral. "You're telling me that you could have conquered the galaxy years ago if you had wanted to?" Nodded calmly. "The galaxy is more valuable as a collection of independent, thriving civilizations than it would be as a human empire. We've never been interested in conquest. We've been interested in survival, ours and everyone else's." As the diplomatic convoy departed Earth and began its journey back to the council chambers, Ambassador composed her report on the negotiations. The document would become one of the most important diplomatic analyses in galactic history, but the key sentence was simple and direct. "Humanity represents the most strategically sophisticated civilization the galaxy has ever encountered. They have been planning for our mutual survival since before we knew they existed. Recommendation: full partnership with complete transparency, because any other relationship would be both futile and unnecessary." The countdown timer that had once marked humanity's predicted defeat still hung on the wall of the council chambers when returned. It had become a reminder of how wrong even the most advanced civilizations could be when they underestimated the species standing quietly in the corner, watching and planning for everyone's future.